for this Financial Aid 101 workshop. We are, as said before, we're excited to share information with you. I know this is a really hot topic, and I wanted to start by introducing our esteemed panel of experts. I'm calling y'all experts because you are. You meet with families and you talk about this all the time. So I will start. I am Andra Anderson, and I work with Maryland Business Roundtable for Education. I am a Next Generation Scholars Program Coordinator, so I get to work with students in, right now it's grades 9 through 11, but we move with the cohort, so next year it'll be grades 10 through 12. So I have some seniors in my group for next year, and I'm really excited about that because we get to talk about things like admissions and financial aid with them. So let's see, we'll just go ahead and have the panelists each introduce themselves. I'm gonna do this. So why don't we go down the line? So how about Laura, do you wanna start?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Shahan, and I am the Assistant Director of Financial Aid at Chesapeake College.
Awesome. How about Alphonso?
Good morning, folks. My name is Alphonso Garrett. I'm currently serving as Director of Admissions and Recruitment at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
And Marcel?
Hello, my name is Marcel Jagne-Shaw, currently serving as the Director of Student Financial Aid at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
And Melisa?
Good morning, my name is Melisa Hypolite. I'm one of the Associate Program Directors at CollegeBound Foundation in Baltimore.
And Natasha?
Good morning, Natasha Blake-McDowell, the other Associate Program Director of High Schools for the CollegeBound Foundation in Baltimore, Maryland.
And Lexi?
Good morning, I'm Lexi Sumner, Associate Director of Admissions at Washington College in Chestertown.
And Ernika?
Good morning, Ernika Webster, Associate Director of Financial Aid at Washington College in Chestertown.
Awesome. Thank you guys for introducing yourselves. So you're going to get to hear from each of them on different topics related to financial aid. And I'm actually going to start. So you all signed up for this session knowing we'd be talking about financial aid, but what is financial aid? So a breakdown, financial aid is money that can help you pay for college. Some aid needs to be paid back or earned, and some is a gift. Great gift. Getting financial aid can make it possible for you to go to college. Some of the main sources include federal, which is the biggest probably, state government, colleges and universities, and private organizations. So for financial aid, you must apply. The biggest financial aid document is the FAFSA, the free form that will be available. Actually, we'll talk about dates and deadlines later, but you want to get started with the FAFSA. And financial assistance can help you cover a multitude of things: tuition, housing, books and supplies, things like that. And each one will be specific to whatever entity that would be. The biggest thing to note with financial aid is that it is specific to the individual and specific to the institution. So you really want to work closely with some of the faces that you just got to meet, people in admissions or financial aid at the various institutions where you want to apply. They're going to put together a financial aid package specifically for you, as long as you meet the deadlines and complete all of the needed application and verification process. But they'll put a package together specifically for you, and that is your starting point for figuring out, okay, what does it actually cost for me to attend this school? So that, and disclaimer, I used to work in admissions. I used to work at Washington College. So one thing that we would always encourage students to do is really connect with those advisors and make sure that you are reviewing all the information and you have a good idea of what that final cost will be. So again, it's going to be personalized to you. You want to check with each institution that you are applying to. It's going to be packaged differently. Some schools might not offer scholarships. Some schools might only offer need-based financial aid. It's really specific to each institution. So you just want to make sure that you are following up with the advisors, the financial aid counselors, the admissions counselors, your point of contact for those schools. So that's kind of just a very, very broad. Financial aid covers a lot of different things, but we're going to kind of break down what key things that you want to be aware of with regard to financial aid. So we are going to talk about who is eligible to receive financial aid, what types of financial aid exist, a little bit more about the verification process and the guaranteed access grant, which is something that is really awesome in Maryland. When you can apply, all of the dates and deadlines, which are crucial for financial aid. You definitely want to make sure you're putting those on your calendar, you're circling them, big stars, highlighting whatever you need to do to make sure that you're hitting those dates, and what you can do right now to get ready to apply for financial aid. So if you're a student, maybe if you're a junior, a lot of this will apply for your senior year. But if you're going into your senior year, you definitely want to pay close attention. If you are a parent of a student, this information will be crucial for you because you play a role as well. Or I know we had a couple of school counselors sign up, so you're going to be advising students on this process. So all of this, I think, will be really important for you to share with your cohorts. So with that, we're going to take it away. We're going to go to Marcel, who is going to talk about who is eligible to receive financial aid.
Awesome. Hello again, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity. I like to tell people that, financial aid is probably the most loved and hated place on campus. We can never seem to get it right. But in terms of who's eligible to receive financial aid, first and foremost, you have to, be a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-U.S. citizen. And that's primarily because you're going to have to fill out the FAFSA. And so the FAFSA is going to be your gateway into receiving any type of federal, state, and oftentimes institutional aid. The financial aid is going to be for students who are enrolled at least half-time. And so in most cases, that's going to be at least 6 credits. If you fall below half-time, then you're not going to be eligible in most cases for financial aid at the undergraduate level. Students enrolled in a degree-seeking program. So that means, you can't just be taking classes just to take classes. Although, the pursuit of education is great, but you have to be pursuing a degree. And so in that vein, students who are also meeting satisfactory academic progress. You're going to probably hear about that a lot. And so it stands for SAP, Satisfactory Academic Progress. So you have to be progressing towards a degree. You can't just be taking classes and not passing them. You have to be passing them at a progressive rate, right? And financial aid is available at all levels, right? Undergrad, grad, professional degrees, the federal government, institutions, the state oftentimes is there to assist you throughout your matriculation to your highest pursuit of educational attainment, right? And so I think one key important aspect to consider when talking about financial aid, there are caps. And so that doesn't get talked about a lot. But in order to be eligible at the undergraduate level, you have about $57,000, $57,500 to be exact, is your cap. And so if you're in school, you have to move at your own pace. But if you reach that cap, then you will likely be on your own. And so the goal is to get it done in 4 if you can. But yeah, that's who's eligible. And so if you have any questions, yeah, be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I did want to mention, again, just because people have been kind of rolling in, this session is being recorded, and anybody who registered is going to get it sent to their email. But one other thing, we are keeping the chat feature open. So as we're going through, if you're like, oh, I want to make sure I ask about this, feel free to put it in the chat, and we're going to have a question and answer period at the end of our conversation I don't think I will, we might post this video. If we do, we will not be posting the question and answer session. That's just for you guys because you registered. So we want to make sure that your specific questions are able to be answered. But if you want to put it in the chat just to remind yourself that you want to come back to it, we'll look through the chat at the end. Or if you know, as we get to the question and answer portion, if you want to raise your hand and ask a question, we're happy to answer those. So thank you. Okay, we are moving right along. We're going to go now to Lexi and Ernika at Washington College, who are going to talk about what types of financial aid exist.
Hopefully you can see my screen and okay, perfect, good to know. So thank you again for having us on behalf of Ernika and I. We're really excited to be here. We're gonna talk both specifically to Washington College, which is a private school, a private college, and then we're gonna talk a little bit more generally about types of aid that maybe could be applicable to different types of institutions. At Washington College, if you decide to apply, you will automatically be considered for a merit scholarship. A lot of different colleges and universities, public, private, that may be part of the application process. And again, like Andra echoed in the beginning, check with each school because every school is so different. So whether it's sticky notes, an Excel document, however you best keep track of all the different moving parts, the more organized you can be at the beginning, the more successful you're going to be. But at Washington College, when you apply, you're automatically considered for a scholarship. There is no supplemental essay. There's nothing additional you need to do in order to be considered. And then if you get an acceptance letter, within that acceptance letter, we will tell you whatever merit scholarship you were awarded, if you were awarded one, and it's contingent for 4 years if you maintain full-time enrollment and keep a minimum GPA. This year, scholarships ranged from $18,000 to $30,000 renewed annually. And just like when we review for admission, we're looking at your entire picture, your entire application. It is largely based on academics, more specifically your GPA and the courses you took in high school, SAT or ACT scores, but we're looking at everything. Another note with scholarships, you may be familiar that because of the impact that COVID-19 has had on the ability for students to take the SATs and the ACTs, a lot of schools are adopting a test optional policy, which means that if you can apply to a college or university without your SAT or ACT scores being considered. At Washington College, we've been test optional for a while, but the impact this has on your scholarship is if you apply test optional to Washington College, you will still be considered for scholarships. I point this out because, again, like everything else, some schools may allow you to apply test optional for admission, but not necessarily for scholarships. So make sure you're asking those questions if making sure you're eligible for scholarships is an important process, important part of the process for you. At Washington College, the only time we guarantee a scholarship is for students who have a GPA of at least a 3.0 and are a member of National Honor Society. You'll be guaranteed a scholarship of at least $18,000. If you are not in National Honor Society, that's totally fine. You will still be considered for a merit scholarship. That's just the only time we guarantee one. Once you are admitted and you've got your acceptance letter and your scholarship, that gray box in your screen right now, those are the additional scholarship opportunities that we have for admitted students to apply for. There is one specifically for the Eastern Shore of Maryland and Kent County. So if you are a resident of Kent County, there's a scholarship for you, and there's one for the Eastern Shore. But these are more interest-based, one around the environment, one around history, political science. Presidential Fellows is an invitation-only scholarship. So I point this out because every school, not just Washington College, may have other scholarships that you'll be eligible to apply for. And scholarships are a type of financial aid that you don't have to pay back. It's going to be yours so long as you meet those requirements, which for us are full-time enrollment and a minimum GPA. So that's specific to Washington College. Ernika is going to talk a little bit more broad about some other types of financial aid. So Ernika?
Thank you, Lexi, and good morning, everyone, again. So we all know college education is a significant investment made by students and families. So that's why it's important to apply for FAFSA FAFSA, so you can determine what type of financial aid you could possibly qualify. There's a variety of different sources of financial aid that you can get that go towards your cost of your education, and the types of aid that I'm just going to go through briefly. And again, it all depends on the institution you're applying to. It all depends on the results of your FAFSA. But the types of aid you could qualify for are federal aid, institutional aid, and I'll talk about our need-based grant for Washington College, loans, and external sources, which are usually outside scholarships. So let's go in a little deep as to what federal grants you can qualify for. So federal grants you can qualify for, and it's all driven upon your FAFSA application. We have the federal Pell Grant. We have the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, also known as SEOG, and we have the Federal Work Study Program. So Federal Pell Grant is really awarded to students based off of their FAFSA application, like I said before. And depending on your EFC, what you'll hear a lot is your expected family contribution number, will determine how much in federal Pell Grant you can receive. So the maximum you can get in Pell Grant this year is $6,345. But again, it all is based off of your EFC. The federal Pell Grant is automatically calculated when the FAFSA is completed, and you will actually see the amount you qualify for at the end of your FAFSA application. So at the end of your FAFSA application, you will see like the list of all the institutions you put on your FAFSA, as well as some demographic information about that institution you put on your FAFSA. And it'll also show you your eligibility for Pell if you qualify for it. So you'll know before we even know. Next thing is the SEOG grant. And usually if you qualify for a Pell Grant, you will qualify for the SEOG grant. But again, each institution is different. So their determination as to how much you will get for that grant really depends on the institution. This year here at Washington College, we offered our students, and we usually give it to our neediest students, a total amount of $2,000 in the SEOG grant. And again, anytime you hear grant, scholarship, free money. So those are the things you want to look forward to. So SEOG for us this year is $2,000. The next thing listed here as far as federal grants is the Federal Work Study Program. So that is federal funding that you earn. Andrew talked about sources that you earn. So Work Study Program is an opportunity for you to get a job on or off campus. And so for us this year, we offered work study funding to our students of up to $3,000 for the year. And a lot of times you get a job on campus working in admissions, financial aid, and athletics. It all depends on who's hiring. And you earn that money. So you put in 10 hours, you get paid for 10 hours at Washington College. We pay you every 2 weeks, and the money actually goes towards you. So you actually earn the funding, and it's, you know, less money mom and dad has to send you during your college time. So next, we'll talk about what is need-based grant. And before I get into that, I also want to say for Washington College, we recommend you do your FAFSA before the March 1 deadline. We adhere to the Maryland deadline. And we say that because a lot of our resources are first come, first serve basis. And we base off of how much funding we get from the Department of Education. So the sooner you get your FAFSA in, if you qualify for that SEOG and that work study funding, the better opportunity you have as far as getting those fundings. So next is need-based. Need-based aid is calculated using your EFC, that magic word, EFC, and it's based off of your FAFSA, as I said before. How we determine how much need-based grant you may get at Washington College is we take the cost of attendance at Washington College minus your EFC number, and that determines what's your unmet need. Now, each institution has their own formula to determine like how much need-based grant you'll get based off of your need. So at Washington College, you may be offered $10,000 in need-based grant. Somewhere else it may be different. So again, everything is driven off of that FAFSA EFC. But Washington College We award need-based grant yearly, so that's why it's also important that you complete your FAFSA yearly. So again, each institution has their own formula to determine your need-based, but that's pretty much how we determine how much need-based grant you can get. Again, it's grant, it's free money, so if you qualify for it, that's even better. So next we'll go into federal loans. Now, anytime you hear loans, a lot of people get a little scared because it's loan money. So loans, yes, you have to pay back. But one thing about the federal loans is, one is in the student's name. So students are responsible for the federal loans. The government offered 2 types of federal loans, and it's not even a separate application that you have to apply for. When you complete your FAFSA, usually you're automatically offered those 2 loans. Now, you can get the subsidized and the unsubsidized, or just get the unsubsidized. Again, that depends on your need, because the subsidized is based off a need. So you're asking, okay, well, what's the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized loans? So your subsidized loans does not accrue interest while you're in school. So that's even if you decide to go to graduate school, it's interest-free until you graduate from college. So 6 months after you graduate from college, your interest will then start accruing. So your subsidized is totally interest-free. So a lot of families and students like to take advantage of the subsidized loan because it's not accruing interest if you decide to take it. Unsubsidized, however, it does accrue interest once you decide to take the loan. And I can tell you this year, due to COVID, unfortunately, the interest rates between the 2 is at an all-time low of 2.75. So, you know, this year, if you're a freshman going to a freshman college, it's a great opportunity. If you decide to take the loan, the interest rate is awesome. Again, the subsidized and the unsubsidized, if they're offered to you, is optional to take them, but they are offered when you complete the FAFSA. Also, subsidized, as a freshman, you can get $3,500 for the year. And your subsidized loan actually increases as your grade level increase. So as a freshman, you're eligible for $3,500 in subsidized loan. As a sophomore, you can get $4,500 in subsidized loan. And your junior and senior year, you can qualify for $5,500. Unsubsidized usually stays at $2,000 each year. And again, like I said, a lot of families like the students to take advantage of it because it kind of gives them a little skin in the game, as parents tell me. It makes you responsible for your college education as well. But I always say do some research on any type of loans that you decide to take, but those are the federal loans that you could possibly get offered. And lastly, we're going to talk about external scholarships. And I know a lot of you high school students, you hear scholarships, oh man, that's another essay I had to write. But let me tell you, sometimes it's worth it. Writing an essay, depending on what the organization is asking for on that essay, you can write the same essay, tweak it a few times, depending on what they're requiring you to write about, and it may be worth it. We had, like, let me tell you, we had a student come in last year and the year before with like 5, 6 different scholarships. And I'm telling you, your parents would appreciate it. 500 here, 500 there, it all adds up. It all cuts down on that bottom line number that you'll have to put out for your college tuition. A lot of organizations, they look at your academics, they look at your athletic abilities, your artistic abilities to determine if you could qualify for those scholarships. But it won't hurt you to do them, trust me. Like I said, look into like your local VFW, your Lions Club, your parents' businesses. They may have scholarship opportunities for you. But now is a great time to start looking into those resources. The earlier, the better. Do your research now to help you, you know, determine, okay, what scholarship do I want to apply for? Also look into Maryland Higher Education Commission. A lot of times they have different scholarship opportunities as well. I know one of the other representatives will talk about more about Maryland scholarships alone, but apply for scholarships is a great opportunity for you to start that research now. And like I said, these are the general, generic types of aid that you can qualify for. Again, each institution has their own sources of aid, but I kind of wanted to go over the basic aid. And then I'll take questions at the end. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. So much good information. We are seeing all the things in chat, so keep putting your questions in there and we will come back to those at the end. And also my colleague, Lori Bell from MBRT has been putting some notes in the chat as people are talking. So things that you might want to, things like EFC or what kinds of things do you have to pay back. So she's putting all that stuff. So if you want to go in there and kind of copy paste, if you're not keeping your own notes, she's keeping some really good notes for you. So great, thank you guys so much. We're gonna now head to our colleagues over at CollegeBound Foundation, Melisa and Natasha, to talk about verification process and guaranteed access grant.
Thank you, Audrey. I'm gonna share. Is my screen up for you guys? Awesome. So you have just finished your FAFSA and submitted it. It takes 3 to 5 days for it to be submitted. And you get your student aid report, which is something called the SAR back. And it says that you have been selected for verification. So Melisa and I just want to talk a little bit about what verification means and also about the guaranteed access grant. So you've been selected for verification. Just remember, it's nothing bad. I know a lot of times students and parents freak out when it says you've been selected for verification. What that says is FAFSA wants to get a little bit more information about what you reported on your FAFSA. So they may have you fill out additional forms, and this all happens on the school level. You won't get an email or anything specifically from FAFSA saying, hey, you've been selected for verification, here are the forms. This actually happens on the college and or university level, where they actually have forms that you will complete in order for them to make sure that the information you put in on your FAFSA is correct and can be verified. Many schools during COVID have turned to third-party verification resources. So a lot of those processes have been switched to online forms. The schools will send the student a letter just letting them know you've been selected for verification. Here are the specific forms you need to fill out, whether that is going to be forms that can be printed, filled in, and mailed back, or, like I said, a third-party verification tool where those forms can be actually done right online. How do I know I've been selected? So when I talked about the student aid report, I wanted to give you guys a visual of how do you know, just from your student aid report, even before the school says you've been selected, how do I know? Your EFC, which I circled in red, is your estimated family contribution. If you notice an asterisk at the end of those numbers on your EFC, that is an indication that you've been selected for verification. The reason why verification is so important when talking about completing your FAFSA is because schools are only going to give you a financial aid award letter once that verification process is complete. And as we know, receiving receiving financial aid award letters is important in order for you to make decisions of what college you want to go to. So having financial aid award letters just gives you, this is how much school is, this is how much you will receive. So those letters are important. My next slide here, just wanted to give you an outlook on Coppin State University in Maryland actually uses this KIA verification process, and this is what they give students to walk them through the process. Again, not all schools have a flyer to help students like this, but I just wanted to give you a visual of some of the things that KIA, which Coppin Academy uses, gives students and parents to let them know this is how you walk through the verification process and finish and in order to receive your financial aid award letter. I am going to hand it over to Ms. Hypolite, who is going to talk more about the Guaranteed Access Grant.
Okay, so your FAFSA's done, right? Or not, because you may still have some questions, but the other two speakers are going to address those more clearly. So when you're done the FAFSA, you're eligible. That's like the gateway to different types of funding. Any type of funding you do, you have to do the FAFSA first. So one of the grants that the state of Maryland offers is called the Guaranteed Access Grant. So what's the Guaranteed Access Grant? It's a grant that's worth $19,100 and it's renewable, which means you can renew that amount every year and the numbers change. So the number you see now, it was less than that before. Okay, so the word up here is eligible. Let's go back to the word here is eligible. Who's eligible for the Guaranteed Access Grant? It has to be for an in-state school. You have to be applying for an in-state school. So on the FAFSA, when you put the different colleges on there, make sure that you list at least one in-state school. And you have to be able to either complete the FAFSA that they mentioned, or Maryland has a form called the MSFA, which stands for the Maryland State Financial Aid Application, MSFAA. So again, to be eligible for the Guaranteed Access Grant, you have to either complete your FAFSA or complete your MSFA. And we're gonna speak about deadlines throughout this whole college application process. The FAFSA is due, the deadline for the FAFSA in Maryland is March 1st, right? So you wanna make sure that you get that application or the MSFA in by that date to be eligible. Another thing with eligibility is income. So they look at the income that you put on the FAFSA or the MSFA, and that determines if you'll be eligible for the Guaranteed Access Grant or not. You have to be using your grant towards a 2-year college or a 4-year college. Again, that school, if it's a Maryland school, should be listed on your FAFSA because they both communicate. So like the state of Maryland financial aid money communicates with the federal money. They talk together, and it also goes into what Natasha just spoke about with verification. So when you do your FAFSA, then the state of Maryland may also ask you for verification forms based on what you put on your FAFSA. If you are applying for a Guaranteed Access Grant, you have to do so if you have a high school diploma by the age of 22, but they also accept applications if you have a GED, and you have to do that by the age of 26. And remember, just be prepared to provide supporting documentation when you finish your Guaranteed Access Grant application. And all those forms, they'll tell you, are due by June 1st. Now, all these things I'm telling you, like, what? I don't know, it's so much information. If you write anything down from the information that I'm giving you now about the Guaranteed Access Grant, it's be this website, mhec.state.us. mhec.state.us. You'll get some more information there as well for the Guaranteed Access Grant. Okay, Natasha, next slide, please. How do you apply for the grant? There is a website. You'll hear a lot of people say, what about MD-CAPS, MD-CAPS, MD-CAPS? That's the application that you would fill out, and that's where they'll put your information for the Guaranteed Access Grant and other state-offered grants. The website to complete the MD-CAPS application is mdcaps.mdcaps.state.md.us. I always tell my students to do 3 things when they start the application process on October 1st. I want to make sure that they have their FSA ID. I want to make sure that they have their FAFSA done. And I also want to make sure that they have the MD-CAPS application done, because if they're eligible for that money, you do not want to miss out on, and you see up at the top, it's in red and it's highlighted. You do not want to miss out on $19,000 if you're eligible for it. And right at the bottom, you'll see here that it's based on available state funding. That means it's first come, first serve. Do not wait, please. Do not wait until last minute to do this application, because if the money's gone, then unfortunately it's gone. So go to those websites, get the information, and if you're not sure, reach out, because our contact information is right on this next slide. Reach out to us or your school counselor, and they'll be happy to give you the information that you're missing or answer the questions, because we understand that it's a lot of information and we don't want you to miss out on anything. So it's better to ask questions than just sit there and not know. There's our phone numbers and our email addresses in case you want to contact us for more information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know, you guys, this is a lot of information. There's so many things to unpack with financial aid. So again, we're keeping some notes in the chat. As you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We're going to come back to them at the very end after we get through the different presentations. And next, we are actually going to go over to Alphonso Garrett from UMES, who's going to talk about when can I apply for financial aid and all of the really important dates, deadlines, due dates.
All right, so when do I apply? So it's very interesting. I guess, how would folks feel that if I said when you should apply is actually right now or yesterday, right? So you all so far have heard a lot of great information. The process is a bit loaded, but it's a very important process that we all have to navigate through, again, if we're looking for the assistance in affording college education. So I always start with when someone asks me when, I say now is the time to start. As several of our colleagues have mentioned earlier, like being aware of the various dates and deadlines. So backing up to the very beginning, the first step, you're going to have to do your research to prepare to see what is available, what's out there. You all are doing that right now today by tuning into this presentation. So definitely congratulations, pats on the back for being here today. To again, get a good investment in your time. So think, okay, so we're learning the basics. There's various types of aid. There's federal aid, there's state aid, there's nonprofit organizations, there's also institutional aid. And we learned already for my colleagues at Washington College how every institution can do things slightly different and how they award their own money, right? Because essentially, if it's my money, it's my wallet, I want to decide how I want to give it out, right? So the best thing you can do is to ask me, how can I get that money? How can I receive some of that money? So the very point of this process, I would say, remember, you have to conduct your research, see what's available, and see what's out there. Again, like I said, you're doing a very first step of that today. And then depending on the awarding agency, everyone really does have their own dates and deadlines. There's different national dates and deadlines that we all know about. The FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, that's one that's pretty standard. We know it's not going to change. That's going to, the application is going to open in October, and the deadline, like Melisa just mentioned, is going to be March 1st for those Maryland grants and programs. But in between that, every college, organization, et cetera, is going to have their dates and deadlines. So as Lexi was mentioning earlier, you're going to do what it takes to, whether it's a spreadsheet or a list, but you want to take the steps to make sure you're collecting all this information down in one consolidated place. So as time progresses, you're able to see what's due when. So again, so there's no magic ball I can tell you of every deadline, because again, everything's going to depend on the different various funding sources. So students as young as 8th grade, for example, can potentially start applying for scholarships today. There's different platforms out there to provide scholarships. There's applications out there for your cell phone like Scholly. There's also websites you can access like Raise Me that award students scholarships based off of things they're doing in 8th grade, 9th grade, 11th grade, what have you, while in high school. But most formally, most applications are going to be due during your senior year of school, or if you're a transfer student at a current community college or another university looking to switch, those deadlines are going to be happening in real time at that point in time. One thing that a lot of folks don't realize is that oftentimes, if not all times, you're going to be applying for financial aid sometimes before you even submit an application for admission, but mainly before you even hear back from the admissions office. Like the folks at Washington College mentioned how after applying for admission, you'll get notified of an automatic scholarship. So in that case, you fill out a form, you hear back with the application. Other institutions, so such as mine, you'll submit an application for admission, and then several days later, you'll be notified of an automatic scholarship. But there's other programs available at the university. So for example, some of our high scholarships at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore come from our Richard A. Hinton Honors Program, which has supplemental information that you add on top of your application for admission. So again, each of these things have various steps and stages to the process. Let's see. Checking my notes here to make sure I include my big points for you all. I'm sorry for looking down. Someone also mentioned earlier how writing essays sometimes can feel like a burden, but every dollar earned is a very important dollar. So essentially, you can start crafting those essays at any point in high school to get those done in advance. Again, we mentioned earlier, some of them are very specific and targeted, but many of them can be tweaked and altered depending on the scholarship to which you're applying. So in my definition of when to apply, writing your essay is part of the application process to scholarships, and you can actually start those things now. In addition to those essays, many scholarship programs are going to ask for resumes or a list of your activities. Those are things you need to be collecting now throughout the process. So when you think about the application to a scholarship program, don't think about just, I must fill out my FAFSA by X date to be qualified. Also think of all the other supplemental information that's going to accompany that application as being part of the application process. And in many cases, it will be some additional information, whether it's the essay you write, your resume, or your parents' financial information in a part of the process as well. But keep in mind that there's a wide variety of folks and professionals there to help assist you. Folks like me and our colleagues here on the call today, our job is to help you navigate through this process. There's also various nonprofit organizations where people volunteer their time and services. For example, there's national fraternities and sororities like Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated, for example. They're nationally throughout every state conducting free workshops and things based on applying to college as well as financial aid and things. And oftentimes those services are free to those who inquire. So I would say I would close with, keep in mind that the scholarship application process, it starts now with the collecting of this information. It starts with you writing these essays, as well as knowing when the appropriate deadlines for each individual program are going to exist. And I guess I talked pretty quickly, but I hope that's some helpful information for you all, and I'll be happy to address some questions at the end.
Thank you so much. So you guys, dates and deadlines, super important. We see all of your questions in the chat. That's awesome. We have one more speaker presentation, and then we're going to go through your different questions. I will address one of them. So anybody who registered for this workshop, you will receive an email with this video and also with the contact information for all of our panelists. So we'll make sure that you get that information in case you wanted to reach out to them after this workshop. So thank you for that. So now let's go to Laura from Chesapeake College.
Hello, everyone. Let me just share my screen really quick. Make sure you guys can see everything. Let's see here. And then I want to swap. Are we good? Good. All right. Awesome. Again, my name is Laura Shahan. I am the Assistant Director of Financial Aid at Chesapeake College in Y Mills, Maryland. It's never too early to start planning for college, and the earlier you plan for college, the easier and less stressful it's going to be for you to plan financially for college. Now, you may not know exactly what you want to do when you grow up, but you probably have a decent idea. Now's the time to start researching those ideas. Are you thinking about nursing, education, science, accounting? All those fields will probably require a college education. Thinking about welding or HVAC, construction, those fields will probably need technical school training. Either way, you'll have to pay for this opportunity, so now it's time to start preparing for it. College and tech schools want employed and skilled workers, educated workers, and students that can think and work creatively in teams. They also want problem solvers. So these are the things that you guys can start doing now. I know we may have some juniors and some seniors on the call, maybe even younger students, but these are things that you want to start thinking about now. Start taking college prep courses, foreign language courses, courses that are going to challenge you and that you're going to need for your future. Any 11th graders attending today, here's your checklist. We want you to enjoy your high school career. However, there are some things that you guys can start doing now to help prepare for college and the expense of college. Explore the careers and your earning potential at the link that I've given here, which you'll be able to have access to afterwards. There may be a career that you may want or may think you want, but maybe that earning potential isn't there for you. You want to start thinking about that now. It's really important that you start attending college fairs and presentations now. The information is presented is always useful. We at Chesapeake go out to a lot of things. I know Washington goes out, UMES goes out, everyone pretty much represented here comes out to your high school. So make sure you attend those presentations. Obviously, take any standardized testing that you can. The FAFSA Forecaster is a tool that allows students and parents to get an idea of how much federal student aid the student could be eligible for. Again, this is not guaranteed funding. It's just used for you to receive an early estimate so you can plan a course of financial action between now and graduating from high school. It's extremely important for you to be involved in extracurricular activities and volunteer opportunities if you haven't done so already. Scholarship applications are going to ask for this information, as scholarship donors are more likely to give money to students that have been associated with organizations, so it's now time to get involved. Think about churches, Lions Clubs, Rotaries, 4-H, FFA, SGA, Honor Society, Habitat for Humanity, The list goes on and on. I always tell my students, Snapchats don't get you scholarships. It's time to get yourself off the couch and start volunteering. Now, seniors, here's your checklist. I know that you may want to take your senior year a little easy, but now's not the time to prop your feet up. Now it's time to start looking at when colleges are accepting their admissions applications and financial applications such as the FAFSA, as well as scholarship opportunities. Bigger colleges have very early FAFSA filing priority deadlines, such as February 1st, February 15th, March 1st, etc. If you're a Maryland resident and you're going to be attending a Maryland school, we've talked about it a lot today, but you must complete that FAFSA before March 1st every year in order to be considered for Maryland state scholarships. Do not let your grades drop in senior year. Every year we see students say, oh, it's just senior year, grades don't matter. All grades matter, all grades affect your scholarship eligibility. Continue to be involved in activities with your high school as well as in your community. I always say your guidance counselor is going to be your BFF in your senior year. Why? Because private scholarship donors are going to be contacting your guidance counselors in order to announce their scholarship applications. Think about all the civic organizations in your community. They all have scholarships to give, but you must apply. October 1st is when the FAFSA becomes available for your senior year. Just PS, October 1st is 4 months away, which is crazy to think, but it's going to be here before you know it. I don't care what you have to do. Again, we've talked about circling it on the calendar, setting an alert in your phone. Make sure you do that FAFSA as soon as that October 1st hits. Most importantly, high schools, we are coming out to you to do high school award and, financial aid opportunity nights. Make sure you attend. I know myself, as well as our staff in the financial aid office, go out to all 9 public high schools that we service in our 5-county area and give a huge detailed information session on all things financial aid, not just for Chesapeake College, no matter if you're going to be attending Washington, Chesapeake, UMES, California, it doesn't matter. Financial aid's financial aid for the most part. Do not miss that night. Get the help you need to succeed. As we've already talked about, deadlines and money, we always say go hand in hand. You miss out on a deadline, you could miss out on a large pot of funding. Create a calendar of financial aid dates, admissions dates, and testing dates now. Keep an activity sheet and a resume for everything you've done in your senior year, as well as your whole entire high school year, because scholarship applications are going to ask for that information. Start to develop really good scholarly essays now. Most essays are going to ask, give us an opportunity, give us a time that you were a leader. Talk about if you could change something in this world, what would you change? Start developing those essays now. Most importantly, tell everyone about your dreams. We want to hear your dreams. I always tell my students, put it on your bathroom mirror somewhere you're going to read every day. Those dreams will come true. The entire college process is overwhelming. We totally understand it. We live it and breathe it every day. But we want you to never get discouraged. Reach out for help for anything that you need. Parents that are attending today, you make a difference too. Talk to your student about their hopes and dreams. Ask them questions and list priorities when thinking about colleges. Does the student want to live in a big city rather than a rural area? Living on campus, living off campus, living with roommates, how are the meal cards, etc. Talk about these, have these family-friendly conversations. Most of the times we see parents only attending the informational nights, which is good, but we want you to bring your child with you. The applications are your student applications, not the parent applications. So please bring your child and let your child ask the questions. You may need to elbow them a little bit to encourage them, but we ask that you and your child come together. We know they're shy, but try to encourage them throughout the entire process. Lastly, students and parents, you can learn more about federal student aid programs at studentaid.gov in order for you to make sure that you're not missing out on any student aid resources available to you as well as the student. We're all here to help. As I finish up here, just a list of different people that are here to help you may not think about. I always tell my students too, if you want to go be a hairdresser or a barber, a cosmetologist, a teacher, go talk to those type of people. Ask them what they did in their college education. Did they go to tech school? What would they do differently? What do they love about their job? What don't they love about their job? Talk to them so that you know that you have people in your corner. We all want to see you succeed. My contact information is here. Again, Chesapeake College is your local community college, so we are here to see our students in our community succeed. We are more than welcome to help any student at any time, no matter if you're attending us, which we would love you to have, or Washington, UMES, or again, anywhere in the United States. Chesapeake is here to see you succeed.
Whew, thank you so much. That was awesome. So bottom line, there are dates and deadlines you want to adhere to. There are people in your life who want to help you, including our panelists. You will be getting the contact information and links to websites for all of our esteemed experts, panelists today. But I want to go through and look at the chat and kind of pop in there. So as I ask the questions, any panelists, please feel free to jump in with the answer. I know there were a couple specific to a certain person, but let's see. The first one, somebody asked about having an adopted child and they're filed in the taxes. Is that child independent? How does that work? How does she apply for EOP or HEOP?
I can answer that question. Adopted parents are just like biological parents. So that adopted parent would put their financial information, their parental information on the FAFSA as if they were a biological parent.
Awesome. Okay. Does the cap of $57,500 have a time limit? Is it for the 4-year period, or does that go into your needs at upper education levels? Does that money include loans? That might have been during the Washington College presentation. Do you remember the cap?
Yeah, I had mentioned
that.
that.
Yours.
So
okay.
Yeah, that's $57,500. That is for your undergraduate career. You get to access a different bucket of money in your graduate and professional career, but that $57,500 those are loans, subsidized and unsubsidized loans. So I believe the colleague at Washington College did mention that the subsidized loans don't, accrue interest while you're in school, and the unsubsidized do. But that $57,500 is purely loans. And for the undergraduate career, no time limit. 6 years. 6 years is your time limit. The 4-year degree plus 2 more.
Okay. Thank you. If you get a scholarship, how long does it last, or does it last for a specific period of time?
I can take this one. Our scholarships, the merit-based scholarships, are for 4 years should you maintain full-time enrollment we talked a little bit about SAP and also a minimum GPA, which is part of that. Sometimes a lot of the external scholarships that students could be awarded are one time only. It's, one check for $500 or, a one-time check of, $2,000. That would be a one-time credit on your bill.
Great. What's the income limit for guaranteed access grants?
I'm sorry. There's a chart actually available. And if you go to the website, I would have to pull the chart up because it goes by your household size. So when you fill out your FAFSA, whatever household size you put on your FAFSA, they have a chart available that says, okay, if you have 1 person in your household, then it's this income. If you have 2 people, then it's this income. 3 people, this income. And again, the website, I'll put it in the chat. It's mhec.state.us. Or if you Google Guaranteed Access Grant, it'll come up and you can find all the requirements there as well. I'm going to put the address in the chart now for you.
Thank you. Can you take state money out of state?
Usually no. Really, most of the time, no. Usually it's in state.
There was a question about Warwick. It's a little unclear. Does Warwick include these colleges? Does Warwick? Not sure. If you want to add another piece to that, if you want to ask a different kind of question, we're happy to answer that. Where can we find these scholarship essays? Is there a specific website or link?
most of the time the actual essay comes from you, but each application, scholarship application, is going to ask for possibly a different essay subject, topic, question, etc. We like to tell a lot of our students, just have one good essay written about yourself and your accolades and kind of bragging on yourself, and you can always substitute things in for each application that needed.
That's good. That was actually, somebody asked, what should we have on the essay? I'm going to do a little plug. MBRT is hosting a college essay workshop on July 7th. And when I send the information about today's workshop and all of the contact information, I'll include a link to that so you can get ready with that college essay. Along with grants, does MHEC have scholarships?
They do. They most of the time they have grants. It's grants and scholarships. They have all their programs listed on the MHEC website as well.
Yep, and just to piggyback on Laura, we're gonna put that link in the chat for you as well.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to follow up and say they have the senatorial and delegate scholarships, and that's on their website too.
Okay. If somebody's entering their senior year right now, is it too early to apply for MD CAPS, FAFSA, even though the website, right now the FAFSA website is showing 2020, 2021?
Right, so they're October 1st, you're a senior this year, so you're not eligible to fill out the 2021. You're gonna wait until October 1st when the 21-22 FAFSA becomes available.
Mm-hmm. Here's a good one. How can you get financial aid scholarships or grants if you are not a U.S. citizen?
So it really depends on the institution. I can speak for Washington College. We do offer merit scholarships. If you qualify for, if you don't qualify for a FAFSA, you could get the international scholarship. Merit scholarship. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lexi.
And also remember, in addition to I'm sorry. There were some technical issues. I'm sorry. I didn't cut you off, did I? No, sorry. The MISPA is also available. It stands for it's MSFAA, the Maryland State Financial Aid Application. It's for people who aren't eligible to fill out the federal state financial aid application. If you are not a United States citizen, but you've attended Maryland State School for 3 years, you've earned a high school diploma or a GED, and you could provide information that your parents filed taxes, that person can fill out the MSFAA. And Natasha just placed that information in the chat as well.
Okay, some of these, we have some duplicate questions. So if you've asked one, somebody else, we might have already gotten to it. Let's see. What is the CSS profile? That's a good question.
I actually posted it in the chat too as well.
The CSS profile, that's going to be essentially a more in-depth version of the FAFSA, and that's generally reserved for private schools. Junior Ivies and Ivy Leagues will use the CSS profile to get a more in-depth understanding of a student's or family's financial picture outlook to determine how much financial aid you're going to receive.
Okay. This one might be a stretch, but maybe one of our admissions friends can help. My child was scheduled to take the ACT, which was canceled and then opened at the last minute, but we didn't see it and we missed the deadline. Now there are no seats available anywhere in our area in the near future. What should we do?
So I think that you have a couple of different options. I would encourage you to connect with your high school counseling office. They may be able to help you figure out what other dates are coming down the pipeline. Test optional is, a huge policy that a lot of schools are adopting this year, which as a reminder means you don't have to submit your SAT or ACT score. So if you weren't able to take it, look for maybe test optional schools. But I think your high school counseling office is going to be your best resource. It'll be interesting to see what the SAT and ACT do. Maybe they'll be able to provide more testing dates. But I would connect with your high school counselor because they're going to be able to give you all those dates and registration email or registration links and things like that. But test optional may be your best friend this year, as it's going to be for a lot of students. And you know, we've been test optional at Washington College for a long time, and it's awesome to see a lot of other colleges and universities adopt that policy as well.
The test dates and registrations for further dates, for future dates rather, is also in the chat.
Thank you. And I will copy all this information to share with you guys, so you'll get all this really good stuff packaged. We have time for one more, and this one's a thinker. The Institute for College Access and Success says that about 1 out of 3 undergraduates leave school with no debt. Do you have any insight into what differentiates these students from those who do graduate with debt? Everybody's like, nope, not me. 1 in 3. Wow.
Yeah. I will say, just coming from a community college, so I'm a little biased. But we, you know, obviously students are encouraged sometimes to start at a local community college because it is more cost efficient to take your first year, maybe even your second year at a community college where the tuition is lower. So your scholarships, grants, any loan opportunities you have may stretch a little bit further. Take all your general education classes at your local community college before transferring to your 4-year. I always tell my students, you think about your Englishes, your maths, your communications, your sciences, your socials, all those general education classes, you've got to take them no matter where you attend. So do you want to take them at a local community college where it's much cheaper, or do you want to take them at a 4-year and be there, you know, paying that 4-year tuition? Nothing against 4-year colleges, it's completely, you know, everyone else's, you know, preference, but that's a way to save money, is going to a community college first, even if it's for a year, and then transferring out to your 4-year college. I know with me at Chesapeake, we do not participate in the federal loan program, so we're keeping you out of that loan debt, which will help you in the long run.
And I think it goes, to piggyback off of what she said, it goes based on your preference. If you want to go to a community college, or, you know, 4-year college, a private college, a state college, it really depends on your preference. And you know your financial abilities better than we do. So that also plays a part in it too. So it really, like she said, it goes back to your preference. If you know, it's the value of education. That's what you want to look at. What do you want to value as far as your education?
And I'm going to piggyback on that. I'm going to add another P to that. So preference and preparation. All right. And so I think the earlier you prepare, the higher your likelihood of going debt free. And so they have several programs that are available through financial institutions such as banks or the Gerber Foundation. And you see families that are saving for college as early as 1 year old. And so, and you have some of these financial tools that are offered through banks where you can grow this money so that by the time your child turns 18, if they decide to go to a community college, a trade school, or that money is available. And so I think proper preparation will benefit students the greatest. Another rule of thumb for me, I tell my students, if you apply to about 3 scholarships a week on average, borrowing from some of my other colleagues here, where they say, you know, recycle that essay, you know, revamp it, tweak it a little bit. And if you apply to about 3 scholarships a week, I guarantee you, you know, it worked for me. I can only speak for myself, but I've seen it work for other students as well. So preparation, again, will yield you a debt-free education.
Well, thank you. There was so much information shared today. Again, you're going to get a link to this video and some different resources, the contact information for all of our amazing panelists. I just want to say thank you so much for taking your time, panelists, and sharing your knowledge. Financial aid is a lot to unpack, and it's very personalized, but these were great starting points for students and families considering college in the near future. So thank you very, very much for your time today. I really appreciate you. And thank you to those of you who attended. And we will follow up again with some contact information and important links for you to check out and get started. Thank you so much. Again, on behalf of Maryland Business Roundtable for Education, this is Financial Aid 101, and we can't wait to continue the conversation with you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.